First, thank you, and thank you to all the other speakers. It means a lot to have everybody from the community here, from the public sector, private sector, and there's been a tremendous amount of activity going on behind the scenes for the past several months. As Mr. Hammond alluded, a lot of it was dealing with tax credits. So here we are on April the 15th. Which I think is a good day to at least commemorate a good thought about taxes. And again, a lot of activity behind the scenes with that over the past few months. It's extraordinarily complex, very involved. We've had a team of, I think, 7 different business parties, and they all have their teams of attorneys, you know, from Denver to Chicago, St. Louis, Boston, Richmond, and Clifton Forge. So, we've had a ton of documents going back and forth, review, negotiation, etc. It's been a very intensive process. And, you know, looking back in 1905, when this theater was built, we found the original blueprints, and there were 8 pages of blueprints. There were bonds issued within the community, and there was a deed of trust. So there wasn't much in the way of paper to got that deal done back then. But today, with the advent of computers and the internet, we've got a lot of paper out there. But on April the 2nd, right at 12:11 p.m., as I was sitting at lunch at the club car with Tom and Dad, we got the first email from the attorney for U.S. Bank, which is clear to close. And then several other little emails followed behind that. Everybody gave the green light. And then a series of wire transfers took place. So the money to redo the building is now sitting in an account in our Historic Masonic Theatre LLC account at Virginia Community Capital with Dawn Dehart, who's here from there today. They're the bridge lender for the project and have been a key piece in getting this done. So April the 2nd was definitely a tremendous day for us, and the board was able to have a little champagne in the lobby at the close of the day. As I was driving back from Covington that day, it was just a gorgeous day out, unlike today. Just sunny, perfectly clear. And I noticed for the first time that the service berries were blooming up in the mountain. And the service berry, as many of you know, is the harbinger of the spring here. So I thought it was a good sign, and also kind of the transition that we're making with the regrowth and renewal here at the theater. So, you know, with that, you know, I thought, you know, what kind of message we try to deliver here today. So, rather than reinventing something, I thought back to that image and a song from the Beatles, "Here Comes the Sun," which I was hoping for a little better turnout. We've got you all here, so we're very happy with that. I'll borrow a few phrases from that, but little darling, I'm not going to sing, so don't worry. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. You know, we've worked on this project for 5.5 years now, you know, to try to realize a vision. You know, we've got a facility here that's kind of a grand remnant from when this community was more prosperous. And it's an asset, as Mr. Hammond indicated, that we can utilize to redevelop the community. You know, it means a lot to a lot of the folks here today that used to go there and sit in their same 4 seats. But it also can be an asset which we can reap a return on investment. A lot of the things we've done in the past 5 years is, well, the main thing is trying to find the money to do it, because it's a big building, you can see, and it takes a lot to put it together. We've also traveled around to other communities that have redeveloped theaters and seen the impact, like in Marion, Virginia, with the Lincoln Theater. That's been a huge impact to that community. So that's where we started. And over the past 5.5 years, we've done some fun things, working with our architects on the design plans, having fundraising events, and we've also done a lot of hard stuff. And the hard stuff is mainly been trying to find the money to put this thing together. So, with that, going back to the Beatles, little darling, I feel the ice slowly melting. And a lot of the time along the way it seemed like we may not quite get there, but we've been fortunate to have been sustained by donations and support, both financially and butts in the seat from the community. That got this thing off the ground. It sustained it as we've gone along. So that's been a huge help in getting us to where we are today. And with that, going back to the Beatles. Little darling, I see the smiles returning to the faces. So, following the closing that we had back on April the 2nd, we were able to move from planning, fundraising for 5.5 years into construction. And we gave on last Monday the 6th, we gave our general contractor, Thor, notice to proceed. And so they've arrived and they're here today. We've got Alan Whittle, Harry Hudson, and Brian and Boyer's here somewhere. Dustin Bowen is our project manager. Josh Grant is our superintendent back there. So you'll be seeing those guys around quite a bit. We've been working with them for the past 4 to 5 years now. I have a great relationship with them. As you'll see throughout the course of the project, they've incorporated a lot of our local contractors. I saw one of H&M's trucks out here earlier today. So that's part of our team. The rest of the kind of design team could not be here today. Susan Reed and Tom Heatwall from Commonwealth Architects in Richmond. So that's the beginning of the transition. And to close out with the stanzas here comes the sun. We've got sun in the Allegheny Highlands, and it's largely been personal donations from individuals, local businesses that we have a huge amount of thanks to. The Allegheny Foundation has been a huge component of this project, and they have been filled in the critical junctures along the way that have made a lot of these other pieces come together. So we're very thankful for their work. Also, when you walk back into the renovated theater, which will be about 14 months from now, the third floor there, which is the old Mason's meeting room, is going to be the Meade Snyder community room. So I'm not sure if anyone from Meade Snyder is here today, but they've been a huge support to the project. Thank you. Also locally, the Nettleton Foundation, the town of Clifton Forge, Allegheny County, and again, so many folks and businesses from the community, and the Clifton Forge High School Alumni Association. Thanks to them, the elevator is now named, which will serve all 4 floors of the building. I also want to recognize our foundation, the Masonic Theatre Preservation Foundation, also Masonic Theatre, all the folks you see here, and all the work that they've done to help make this possible. And Wilma in particular, who reminded me earlier that she's been trying to get this theater saved since 1977. We've also had some Here Comes the Sun from beyond the Highlands. And with that, we've had funding support from the state of Virginia through the Department of Housing and Community Development, working with the town of Clifton Forge for an industrial revitalization grant of $250,000. The Cabell Foundation, the Mary Morton Parsons Foundation in Richmond, And then there's some folks that I've been on the phone with, doing emails with, meeting with for the past several months on pretty much a daily basis, when you say that. And several of them couldn't be here today, but I do want to mention them. People Incorporated Financial Services out of Abingdon, Virginia. They are one of our 2 CDEs, and they're the folks that kind of get the new market tax credits off the ground. They have allocation to spend in communities like ours that are ripe for revitalization. Brian Phipps with People Inc. could not be here today. He's been in particular a huge part in the project. He made a lot of these other pieces I'm going to mention in just a minute fall into place. One of those was Virginia Community Development Corporation, another CDE based in Richmond, that brought allocation to the project. And together with that, our largest single investor is the U.S. Bank Community Development Corporation. And they have purchased the new market tax credits for this transaction, as well as the federal historic tax credits, which altogether is over $5 million that they're fitting into this deal. And they will be here for the grand opening. Couldn't make it today. But I've been working with Jennifer Westerbeck, and Tom Oldenburg was here a few months ago from their organization. Also, Commonwealth Advisors to buy our state tax credits, Bill Roach and Craig Stallings. And as I mentioned before, one of the important pieces in making some of these tax credits work, and for us to be able to go forward and start, Virginia Community Capital, our bridge lender. They've been a huge part of the project as well. So again, in closing, we're very excited that we've reached this milestone. I'm glad you're all here to help celebrate it with us. We've been fortunate to raise the capital to get this done. And at this point, we need to celebrate the moment we're in, but we've still got work to do. We've got a renovation to complete, and we've got a pretty big theater to run. So we're still going to need your support, both at the box office and also with fundraising in the future. But with everything that's transpired to date, we feel very confident in what we're doing and who we're doing it with. So we thank you for your support, your continued support down the road, and for now, as George Harrison would say, and I say, it's all right, it's all right.